Uh, Open sleigh, all the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ha, bars, boy. It's Christmas, boys. I don't care what anybody tells you. Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells. Let's go, boys. Go on. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. Hope you liked that rendition of Jingle Bells. I know I did. We have a jam-packed show for you guys, so be sure to grab yourself a little boozy, sit back and relax, and let's have ourselves a good show. We're going to talk about SEC coaches getting fired and Billy Napier responding to that, to what happened in there. And then a timeline. He was asked, how does he feel things are going, the direction of Florida football, where we're at currently? Are we right on time where we should be? Are we ahead of the progress? Are we behind progress? I know what you're going to say. I don't care. I'm not asking for your opinion. We're going to listen to what Billy has to say. And then we're going to talk about attrition. He says, be prepared. It's going to get dirty before it gets clean. And talks about NIL and it being a salary cap. And it's a whole bunch of good stuff. So let's have a good show. And, of course, Mr. Stephen Harris will be on for Champs Corner to talk all things Florida Gator football. Let's get it. Let's go. Chris's music, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Kai Bates, FSU, and Jeremiah Smith, they're all going to Florida State. The boys can't miss right now. Can I get $72 million for being bad at my job? You're telling me, right? That's what I'm saying. Scott 020. Happy to have all of you here. Levi, Seminoles for the win. He's a big-time Gator fan there. We got Mincy. Chris Foley says, who's throwing the ball for FS Pooh next year? I'm sure they'll find somebody in the transfer portal. Well, boys and girls, happy to have all of you. Happy Monday. Let's dive right into it. Let's get into the first order of business. So, Coach Napier was asked about the firings going on in the SEC with Zack Arnett from Mississippi State. Could he make it through a full season? And then, of course, Jimbo Fisher being the big one, getting paid $76 million to never work again. And Sam Pittman, that's been tossed around. We mentioned it on Sunday night show. We may have kind of ran with the ball a little bit too soon because it hasn't came out officially just yet. But it appears that could be the direction things are headed for Arkansas. So it's a bloodbath. I believe Penn State's offensive coordinator got the boot too. And I don't expect it to be the last. Things I'm sure will heat up towards the end of the year as well. I know we're all kind of calling for a few heads on our sideline, so we'll see how that plays out. But he was asked, what are his feelings about those coaches being fired? And here's what he had to say. It was good stuff.
You see two coaches fired in the last 2 days, one of them with a crazy buyout, one of them without even a year on the job. Is that like life in the SEC at this level? You just got to kind of, that comes with the territory?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been that way in this league for a long time, right? So, and look, I think, you know what you sign up for. I think we all do. But, I mean, it's part of life, right? I mean, no different, The AP decides they're going to fire you one day. It comes with the territory, right? So, we all have a job to do, right? And ultimately, I think you view it as a challenge. You view it as an opportunity. And, look, I think these are well-thought-out decisions. You don't just flip a coin and decide to be the head coach of the Florida Gators. I think for me, you go into it with a strategy and a plan. You adapt, you evolve, you adjust. And we're in the middle of our process, right? So, it's been happening for a long time that way.
Very interesting way to answer that. I love how he said, look, if the AP just woke up one morning and decided to fire you, then so be it. Just a little bit of a jab there, but then he covers it up and kind of continues on with the answer. I wish he would have just left it at that, but he didn't. But look, I mean, just to his point, I kind of like his response here. It's something you sign up for. You understand. When I shipped to Florida, I knew it was going to be a hellhole. I knew that it was going to be death. And as I'm watching this, and I've always questioned, and I questioned it last night because these coaches getting just guaranteed money, which is absolutely insane for as many years as, $76 million to pay somebody not to work is just, it's hard to fathom. But then I realized, I'm like, you know what? It's probably pretty hard to get people to come here into places like Texas A&M. Like, not really, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going through hell. I need some guaranteed money because I'm going to take every last licking that they can give me. And that all made sense. As he's over here just getting peppered, I was like, maybe this is probably why he's getting guaranteed money. But to also the other point is, like, he just looks so calm. He looks so collected, which I've always complimented. But it's like I need to see a little urgency. And this is something that I've always complained about as well too, with just the guaranteed money, that when it is guaranteed, is there any repercussions for not doing a good job outside having to answer a few tough questions, right? Because we all know Jimbo Fisher, if he really wanted to, he could go off somewhere and be an OC, or maybe just kind of like an assistant, or a smaller head coach, and not have the stretch and be chilling with $76 million if he wanted to. Anybody would take him right now, right? So does he really get a bad rep? He could go be a head coach at a smaller school if he really, really wanted to. You know what I mean? But he doesn't, because he's like, why deal with the pressure? I work my ass off. I got paid. I'm out. And I'm not saying Billy's in that. I'm not saying coaches are doing that, but the pressure and the want to win is so just immediate that if you're not doing those things, we got to get rid of you. You got to find somebody else. I mean, how many people can you burn through, right? Until you figure it out. But we'll see. We'll see how it works. I mean, again, that was a kind of I always think too, like in sales, right? You ask questions to try to uncover something. And I always ask the guys, why are you asking that question? Don't just ask it because you feel the need to ask it. And obviously, writers and reporters, they have a reason why they're asking it. Would love to know what that young man who asked that question, what he was hoping to get out of it, or what was his reasoning behind it, right? Like, what are you hoping to achieve when you ask that question? I think he wanted to say, hey, Billy, with you being on the hot seat and these guys getting fired, how do you feel about your seat currently? But you can't say that, right? So I think Billy knew that's what he was asking. I'm pretty sure that's what he was implying. And I think that was the reason for a little bit of the sass from Billy there, saying, if AP just decided one day to pick up and say, hey, you're out of there, then, it comes with the territory. And he's right. That's any job. We walk in on Monday thinking it's guaranteed, but they could say, hey, Shelton, get out of here. I hope to God every day I walk into High Top Sports, the boss doesn't get pissed and fire me. You know what I mean? It's dog eat dog world out there, boys and girls. Hey, boys, again, happy to see you. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Good to have all of you here. Next order of business, he was asked about the Gators on track. Where do they feel the timeline is for UF football? Are they happy with how things are going? Does he feel confident? And here's what he's had to say about that.
To that, you've gotten resources commitment clearly. What's your confidence in the time commitment with Florida? I mean, you're in the middle of it. Do you feel confident in the timeline?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think we knew it wasn't going to be easy, And look, I think you have to go into it. I mean, you develop a skill set. You're equipped. These same things I'm talking about relative to our players. I can tell you, I wouldn't be up here without going through a lot of tough stuff to some degree, right? So
let me address that last part there again, because he kind of goes on to say that, I had to go through a lot to get to this point. I've worked my ass off to be here. And look, I love his confidence, right? Absolutely. We're right on track. And again, that question, in my opinion, feels that, hey, we feel you're behind. We feel that things should be further along than where we're at currently. But again, as the head coach, where do you feel? Now, is he just blowing smoke up our ass? I believe that Billy's been pretty honest with this entire time. I don't think he's just told us things to tell us things. But usually, because his coach speak, this was the first time that he was pretty blatant with, yeah, I feel like we're right on path. And again, I know fans probably don't feel that way, and it doesn't appear to be that way. But look, that is a little promising. He does feel confident. And again, I don't know if it's just the fact that he knows, hey, if I do get fired, I get $30 million. But he does look pretty cool and collected. I know you guys are talking about, Strickland being fired. That would need to be the first order of business, because if he's still in play when Billy gets fired, then that would mean Strickland's still going to be the next guy involved of hiring. But if Billy is continuing to struggle, I would imagine Strickland would be the first to go. We replace him and then have somebody who's going to go through that process of hiring Billy Napier versus doing Billy then Strickland. I'd rather do it the other way if I had any control over that, which I don't. But that's how I would handle it. So I'm sure I want to know from you guys in the comments, do you feel that we're on track? Obviously, with the news we've had over the last 72 hours in recruiting, that's definitely going to have a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths on whether or not we are on track or if we're not on track. So we'll see. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stephen Harris is here for Champs Corner. We're going to talk to him about these things a little bit. How does he feel if we're on track? What does he feel about the firings going on? So without further ado, let's get into it, boys. Mr. Stephen Harris, what's going on, big dog? How are you, man?
Yo, what's going on, brother? Doing good, man. Can't complain. How you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Good to see you, man. Happy to have you on. How you feeling after this past weekend, my man?
Man, listen, losses never feel good, man. So it's always tough. But we showed some grit. Nobody expected us to go in there and even make it close to the last 15 minutes of the game. They scored four touchdowns to one with the last 15 minutes. So we made it competitive. We showed some areas of improvement, but it just seems like I get on here every week and say we're improving some areas, and then we fall off in others, man. That just seemed to be the theme. But I believe overall we're ahead of the curve of where everyone thought we would be this year, coming into the game and coming into the season. So I like some of the things that we showed, our ability to respond on offense. At times we did get a little stagnant. I think that got a lot to do with just trusting the new weapons, trusting what we've been doing and sticking with it. You know what I mean? To stick with that outcome versus trying to resort back to some of the stuff we were used to doing out of comfortability, and just playing with an edge. But I think we showed a lot of positive going into that game. Besides being scorched for like 1,000 yards on defense.
Hey, whoa, it was only 700. Easy.
No, that's 1,000. If you round, anything over 600 is 1,000. that was almost close to 2 football games worth of offensive performance. So we probably got beat twice that night.
All right. We got it. Look, so this is.
I got to get it out first, so they gonna get it out on me. So
This is fair. This is a good point too, man. And this is where a lot of, we had a call-in show right after the fact, and a lot of fans felt, that hey, it felt better outside the 700 yards and outside the last 15 minutes. The team looked more cohesive. Again, there was a lot of errors on defense, which we keep alluding back to it being a young football team. Which this was the first time again I've been repeating this, that I felt that we just look outmanned. I want to ask your opinion on that. Do you feel that the line, because you've been on the show, we've gone over the film, there was issues with lining up, there was issues with aggression, there was issues with coming off the ball, there was issues with filling in gaps. Do you feel that we
want to keep going? Do you want to keep going? All season can't come fast enough.
Yeah, so, but with all those things, do you feel that those looked better, but we were just getting beat, or were there still those issues involved?
Yeah, no, it did look better. It looked a lot better as far as the way they were playing, crowding the ball, moving around, flying around. I did see, of course, we tackled poorly in some situations, and the other was way more highlighted than some in crucial moments. But as far as overall, what I seen with their youth, I seen them make leaps that game. It's never tough going to play in Death Valley, man. LSU, we talked about it earlier, man. That's probably the top 2 places to play in college football. You know what I mean? Especially at night, a night game in Death Valley. I didn't expect it to be as close as it was going up. Hey, we even had the lead at one point in time with a lot of points on the board. I felt like we missed the opportunity to capitalize on that. I know one of the guys came on your show and talked about going into the halftime, how we had the 3 timeouts, had the ball but didn't get any points. And then we got the ball back after halftime. So I was feeling very good. For a half of football, well, I'll say we won the first half. Just as far as the matchup, the scoreboard might not have showed it, but as far as where we are as a program and where we should be versus where they are, we won that first half of football in part of the third quarter. I believe in what we had out there. Fatigue set in on those guys. You know what I mean? Anytime you give up that much offense, you can't expect to win a game like that. And give them credit. They got an outstanding quarterback, Heisman Trophy candidate. When he broke off that one for 85 yards, man, the man was moving. He was flying at that pace and how he was playing. You could have had the number 1 defense in college. He still was going to put up some points. So I got to commend them for what they did as far as that aspect. But we are missing a lot of gaps. And I was just happy to hear Billy address some of that as far as the press conferences when he was saying, hey, Armstrong, as far as what he's doing, he said he could be better. But that doesn't just fall on him. Like he said, you got strength coaches, you got defensive line coaches, linebacker coaches, analysts, and all these people that get information to them to make their job successful. I know I spoke about Coach Madison and how he had film breakdown and how we would know percentages about what the team does and stuff like that. That just helps you as far as the defense. So we have some areas we need to plug where I can see that we're lacking that. And once we get some of those things tackled, I think it's going to be some coaching movement this offseason. I know you guys mentioned that, but it might be, I don't know the strength coach like that, but they may change some of that up as far as the guys and the effort and grit that they play with and the edge. We shouldn't have to summon that up so much every game to where we got to do antics to get you hyped up. You know what I mean? And I believe a little fatigue is setting in on Armstrong with that because I believe he has one thing in mind, and he has a lot of passion. So when you're a person with that much passion, I'm sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. And when it doesn't happen, he's not pointing fingers because he's a little younger. So he's not going to go around and say, hey, you need to do your job. You need to do this, do that. But I'm sure there's some frustration there knowing that it's not panning out how it should. I mean, beginning of the year, we were giving them praise. We had the top 5 defense in the country. We were all excited, posting about it and all type of things. And then once teams get to see what you're doing, it kind of goes to the wayside. And that's where all the other coaches have to step up and do their job with game planning and putting people in the right position. So I know we're going to see some changes in that aspect, which will be good. But just as far as what the guys did on the field and their effort that they played with the first half, opening the game, we got hit in the mouth on the drive. Of course, drive is scripted, but we came right back down and marched the ball. I know I posted on Twitter, like, man, that's how you move the ball.
Yeah.
That was just fantastic to see, but we did get away from some of that. But I felt like we could have scored on these guys multiple different ways, and we did it, but we just needed a couple more big stops on defense. We got the one when they went forward on fourth down. That was a huge stop. When they went forward on fourth. Yeah, that was the like biggest stop of the game.
Felt like a movie. I've seen that movie before.
So I'm excited from that aspect, but we got a lot of work to do, and it's just as far as we got to clean up a little bit in house. You know what I mean? The players are giving us all they got right now at this point. We got 2 games left, so they're maxed out on what we can expect from them. Everything else goes down the game plan.
With Armstrong, because obviously he's getting a lot of heat right now. I mean, giving up 700 yards is never easy to overcome, and at that point, it's like there's no really finger point or really one thing in particular. I was going to ask, was play calling an issue, but with it being such, it feels worse than I think what it was. And again, I said this on Monday or Sunday show. I said, look, the stat line I don't believe tells an entire story. I don't believe the defense played as poorly as the stat line showed. I mean, a lot of those were just big, we had three or four plays that were broken out for 75 yards, which it's not okay, but it wasn't a slow grind. It was one player just getting beat, and sometimes you mess up like that. It's not good, and that to me I could blame on youth. Do you feel the play calling in Armstrong, what he's doing, that we should be patient with it, or were there some things that concerned you?
As far as what he calls, I like it. It's different. It's a lot of movement, but if you don't have the players with the knowledge of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish on defense, then it's going to hurt you with that much movement. It's just, and that takes time of them knowing each other in communication. Because if I'm asking one guy to move from over here and Bleak's over here, that means the other parts need to be moving together as well. I think when you're young and you don't know what to expect from the offense, just because you're so keened into doing your job, you're not at the level yet where you're thinking, okay, I know my job. What are they trying to do? And if you can't get to that level like that, some of those exotic packages that he presents is going to leave us out of sync in some areas. Like there are some plays where guys look like they're wide open. Someone's showing up 3 or 4 steps later. That's just because they're not thinking about, hey, what's the possibilities on this route or on this defense? Where are we weak at? Okay, I don't have nobody over me, so let me play over here.
Okay.
Versus them just still playing where they're assigned to play, knowing they don't have nobody over them, and where they can cheat over a little bit more and make that play. That's where I see some of the lack at with the youth as far as guys being open. But it's on crucial moments like third downs where he's able to complete the ball at the sticks before someone even shows up in the picture. and that's not from the scheme. Yes, is moving you out the way, but once you get older, you recognize, okay, I'm supposed to cover the flats, but nobody's over here. You know what I mean? Why am I even this far cheated over? Let me get a little more in the picture and maybe look at that next receiver and see if he's coming my way. And once you get some of that going with the guys, and that's coaching too, from a defensive back perspective. Our defensive back coaches, I'm sure they work hard at their job, but we got to do better. You know what I mean? Making sure these guys understand their assignment and are putting themselves in the right position, because some of that stuff you can say is coaching, but then it's going to take time for them to get to learn that, because they're young. But then some of that we expect guys like Kimber and stuff who's been around enough football to understand some of these things. So, you get the defensive coordinator new, guys play on different systems, all those different things you can use as an excuse. But at the end of the day, it's Gator football. We don't do excuses around here. We want action. So we got to tighten up, and I just see a lot on the back end. And then we got linebackers down. But as far as the scheme and what he's calling, I don't have a problem with it. It just take guys knowing what they're doing and what to expect from the offense. That takes time.
That's a good point, because there was a couple plays where it's like, how's this guy wide open? And that makes sense. It's just guys not understanding completely the scheme, where they should be, that, hey, we typically lack when it gets to this part of the progression. We lack at this part, and there isn't a leader to step up and to, help fill in that area. Because, look, there isn't a guy on that team to really look on the defense. Look, Cam Jackson, I believe he's stepping up there, but this is his first year there. He doesn't really know. No, there's nobody there that truly understands Armstrong's defense. And again, we're not making excuses, just pointing it out. But like you said, it's Gator football. There's a level, like, you've been recruited to play here. You should have at this point in the game, you should be able to adapt and grow. We're not growing. And look, you kind of mentioned the cornerback room. Corey Raymond's been getting a lot of heat. Somebody who we've had a ton of praise for, and he's definitely getting a lot of heat over the last few weeks as well. Like, look, because he at the beginning of this year was handed the entire secondary. Right, that was kind of his promotion in a way, and that's definitely been, I would say, probably one of our weaker parts this year.
Yeah, he's a professional, right? So you should be able to adapt to any situation, especially if we pick you as a coach at the University of Florida, we're expecting you to be in the top 10 of your coaching ability, and so you should be able to adjust on the fly and get these guys going. And although it's tough, playing cornerback, you're the last guy in defense. I mean, you can't be having 45-yard balls, 50-yard ball hanging in the air. It's like our ball tracking skills are non-existent right now on some of those long passes, and we're just getting beat. And it's always a step or two behind. Like, we're like, okay, we're almost there, but no, we're not there. You know what I mean? So he's going to get a lot of heat. I must say this: Keywan Ratliff was on our staff. I don't like to get into all the stuff with the coaches, and I believe people have livelihoods and families. But hell, at this point, you're at the University of Florida. You know what comes with the territory. Keywan Ratliff was on our squad. That's to me, the best cornerback we ever had. As far as culture, when we started saying DBU and we're a defensive back university and all that stuff, that stems from Keywan Ratliff. And he was on our staff. To see him now at Florida State just makes me, it irritates me because I know what he brings to the table as far as being a defensive back and coaching those guys. He's coached a lot of guys that are playing in college now. He had this thing called the Rat Pack 707 where he was coaching some of the top tier players that are now playing in college. And those guys follow his lead. And he's someone that being a defensive back, and to see us struggling, how we're struggling on the defensive end, it's sad to me that he's not on the squad, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that this wouldn't be happening if Keywan was still a part of our coaching staff. I don't know what happened there, or why he was relieved, or if it came down to numbers or whatever it is. But whatever it is, we need to pay the man. We need Keywan. He should not be coaching at Florida State. It doesn't even make any sense to me at this point. And I know Keywan, that's a brother of mine. I actually wrote him about it, like, hey, man, what's the number? How much we got to pay to get you over there? He just laughed at me. He responds to my messages, but, it just lets me know that it has to be something if he just would go respond back with a laugh. Like, it's something we didn't do on our end, And I just feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, watching how we struggled on the back end, knowing we had a chance to get them.
For sure.
So,
Yeah. And again, I think, we see how they're recruiting over there at FSU for DBs. I mean, they're crushing it right now. Charles Lester, KJ Bolden, Jamari Howard. They're not missing. That's for sure. So
no question that Keywan is probably the number one catalyst behind that. He has a relationship with these young guys. He has personality.
That's his role there, is player management, I believe. I looked it up when you tweeted about it.
He has a personality that's out of this world, man. I've been to some of his camps. I worked some of his camps before. Keywan is a class act when it comes to recruiting, and being able to relate to the guys and people wanting to come play for him, and knowing what he's done at Florida in his career. We shouldn't lose people like that to the program.
It is refreshing. I mean, there's a lot of more Gators, Gator greats are starting to speak up more. I think everyone's just frustrated with how things have been handled. Ed Spikes tweeted out like, "Hey, relax, Billy's doing just fine," which I think calmed the mob a little bit, because there's a respect there, just like for yourself. When a Gator great says something, it's like, oh, all right, we'll chill out for a minute, but you're not going to keep it at bay for long if you continue to lose. Tebow can come out and say, "Hey, Billy's the guy." Nobody's going to listen at some point, right? So
I respect Spike for that, his aspect of it, as far as him saying, Billy, some of the great guys we got, Billy brought in. That just makes me question, though, him saying that, is he going to be involved in the transfer portal this year heavily? Because if the guys he brought in now that are young and playing, so that means he wasn't a part of the transfer portal that brought in Kimber and some of these other guys. So he wasn't the guy that was doing that type of evaluation.
Sure.
If we're saying the guys he bringing in are the top tier talent, then that's not a reflection of the transfer portal.
Kimber came in Billy's first year. He did transfer into his first year.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is Billy must not have been in control of scouting the transfer portal. If the guys,
we had like Jack Miller and a few other guys. Ricky Pearsall came in that class too. But yeah, the first portal, you can kind of give up to that. More people were hands were in the bucket for sure. Because Graham Mertz is also Billy's guy. Let me get your thoughts before I let you go on this Mizzou game. Our last 3 games that are night games, which I feel like our 80% of our season's been at night. No big deal. It's been okay. It's a long day is all. But give me your thoughts on heading into Mizzou and how you feeling about it.
I think we get our bowl eligibility this week. I know Missouri's been competing and doing their thing. I feel like we have a lot more heart and a lot more pride about ourselves just being Gators, that we just can't go out like that. So I think we'll do whatever it takes this week to pull it off. We gave LSU a run for their money. We tried to give Georgia a run for their money in the beginning. So I believe we have what it takes offensive wise. I believe we'll continue to see those guys and develop the chemistry and explosion, which is big, man. We got 3 and 1 out there doing their thing, and our running backs are running. I just think our defense you won't have a running quarterback this week, as far as that's going to run how our guy did at LSU. So I think that's going to
they just had their running back, the Ray Davis, on steroids.
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't learn anything from Kentucky this year, it'll be evident this game. But I think we'll be in position and fill those gaps. It's going to be a tough game, but a grinder for sure. But I think offensively, what we're doing right now, with it being so fresh, people won't have a chance to have seen what we've done all year, because it's like we're just getting going on offense to me. So I think we're going to be able to pull it out. I give us 28-24. Yeah, 28-24.
I got to be honest, this is probably the game that I'm the most scared of. Honestly, the other games have a special rivalry to it. There's a special pizzazz.
Yeah.
Mizzou has always been that kind of dragging game, and going into Mizzou at night to a really good. I said they're the best 2-loss team in the country by far. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I give it to them.
I like where your head's at, though.
Yeah, I give it to them. It's just a certain. We Gators, man. If you don't carry that type of edge going into Missouri, somebody that just came into our conference not too many years ago, I mean, you got to carry that type of edge about you. We're the Gators. We are the Gators. Bottom line, we should never go into a Missouri game thinking that we don't have a chance to win that game. I'll never say Missouri's gonna beat us and give a score prediction. That's just never.
Hey, that's the
If I
vibe
say
here, man.
28, if I said it's 28-24, that's close. That's about as good as I can give them.
I feel that. Well, Mr. Stephen Harris, tell them again where they can always find you, man. Again, you were active on Twitter and Facebook this week. Always a
Yeah,
blast to be a part of, man.
always on Instagram at Famo Game 365. That's FAMO. I mean, not Instagram, but X, the new Twitter space X. Famo Gang. That's FAMOGANG 365. And then I'm on Instagram at Stephen Harris 93 Gator, and then Facebook just Stephen Harris.
With Stephen Harris, pleasure as always. Always great insight, man, to get your thoughts and takes on this. Go Gators. Look, hey, we got 2 Mondays left. Hopefully we can have some good conversations about Gator football, man. So
let this Monday be a victory, Let this one be a victory, man. I want to celebrate. Come on.
yes, sir. All right, man. You be good. Thank you. Hey, no, I'll see you next Monday. I was like, happy Thanksgiving, but I'll see you next Monday. So,
yes, sir.
All right, boss. Have a good weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stephen Harris, they're always a pleasure, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Stephen Harris, just his perspective on the game and getting an understanding. Again, a lot of us are in the same kind of concept of, hey, 700 yards, it's a lot, but it doesn't tell a full story. And as much as the trolls are going to try to run with it and the haters are going to run with it, and they have every right to, because it was an atrocious performance in 700 yards, or in Stephen Harris's words, 1,000 yards. It's a lot. It's hard to come by. So I get it. I understand completely. But let's talk about the last little bit here from Coach Billy Napier, where he talked about attrition and how they plan to handle it and how they're handling the NIL. And he kind of gives a little tidbit here on what he's expecting to happen with the attrition. Take a listen.
The portal change, do you think, the patience that schools have with their coaches because there's so many players coming and going? And how does that change perspectives, do you think, on patience with coaches?
I think it's just more coverage, right? It's more drama. I think it's just another element to strategy, right? Relative to what you're going to do. I think, and it's new, right? So there's not a huge sample size of evidence relative to what works and what doesn't work. I do think that, our game continues to evolve, and it's important that you keep up. I think there's an element to that, but ultimately we've got conviction about how we do it. We're going to do, I think it's much like the National Football League. In my opinion, you're talking about, you want to build your team through the draft, and you want to, each offseason, you're evaluating the depth on your team, the impact players, where do you need immediate presence? And that's the NFL free agency model, right? So I think we're living in a world that's very much the same, So you throw NIL into that equation, and now you're living in a salary cap model, right? The problem is we have no contracts. Our drafted players have no contracts. I'd like to know that we had them for 4 or 5 years.
And then he goes on to say, again, look, usually at a time like, a couple years ago, you would expect maybe half a dozen to enter into the portal. I would expect, more than a half a dozen. And he kind of alludes that, look, there's going to be somebody who said, look, if you're on the fence about being here, maybe you shouldn't be here. And he goes, there's some guys that we have a feeling we know they're going to leave. We're okay with that. But then you're also going to be surprised as well who may enter into the portal. And that's just, again, that's the world we live in right now. And you always have to be prepared. So it's reassuring answers like that of, we as fans, we get a little worked up, we panic, but you have to understand this is part of the game, and it's more so than it ever is. Because obviously the noise of a few of our players like ETN, Eugene, those names have been being tossed around to possibly enter into the transfer portal. I'm not worried about those guys. I feel like they're having breakout seasons. They're doing a phenomenal job. I think they still know the writing on the wall. They also came in understanding what to expect to a certain extent. So I wouldn't get too worked up about it, but again, great questions from the reporters today, kind of poking the bear a little bit, trying to get an idea. And, it's none of it's a surprise, which I guess is a good thing to Billy. He's expecting it. Maybe it's him trying to also prepare for winter is coming. I had that in our video today, preparing us for what will be. Because, look, last year, and I said this on Sunday show, when we had 23 guys in the transfer portal, it was a lot, but we were so fed up with the team, we were like, good riddance. Now look at us. We're like, damn, we wish some of them guys should have stayed. You know what I'm saying? So we're at a point now, if guys leave, we don't feel like we have the ability for guys to leave unless, Florida has a plan to go out into the portal and be extremely active. That's the only thing that I see here. Because we saw a lot of attrition going outwards, we didn't see the refill coming back in, right? That was the issue. If we see the same amount of going out, I want to see matching or then some coming back in. That would make me feel a lot better. So if anybody's got a weak stomach like myself, I would expect the next 45 days to be a little wheezy feeling. All right. I would expect a lot of noise, a lot of Hayes Fawcett graphics, whether people are leaving, whether people are decommitting, committing. It's going to be a wild ride here, which makes it fun if you enjoy that kind of thing, but it should be enjoyable to watch. So be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, because you don't want to miss it when we do drop a video about it. And if you are, obviously, you enjoy watching me cry, you'll be tuned in and let me know how much of a loser I am. So I know you guys will already do that anyways, but turn the bell on so you don't miss it and you're on time for it. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Go show Mr. Stephen Harris some love. Go follow him on all the social media. Like I said, he's very active on Twitter, or X, and other social media sites. Let me go ahead and say hey to everyone real quick. JB, Derek McKinney, John Wall, Wally the Gator, Sean D. What's going on, man? Brian Korth, Flip Season. He's very positive. Muddy, what's going on, big dog? I know 5 who are transferring. 3 mainly because of the heat from the fans. Damn, Muddy. You going to just drop that in there and walk away? Levi, thank you for your super chat, man. I didn't read it earlier. Let me go back to this really quick here. It says, improving, and we'll get there, Gator Nation. Absolutely. Thank you for $2, Levi. I appreciate you, man. Bailey the Sunbelt, how you guys doing? SEC Dog, Michael Murphy, Chris Charlotte, Q Lee. What's going on, big dog? Good to see you guys in the chat, chit-chatting, and just a lot of love going on as usual. You guys are just showing a lot of love. Much respect for you, Sheldon. Thank you, Larry Cox. Thank you for always commenting and being part of the show. You guys have a great rest of your Monday. We will see you Wednesday, of course, live at 8:35. Don't want to miss it. It's the preview for the Mizzou game. Should be a good one, boys. Like and subscribe. Peace.